Morning, folks. It's Saturday. I don't know what the date is. 15th or something. Anyway, I don't really want to talk about Trump and that, but what I do want to talk about is this connection to natural law, and the way the state is pumping out the propaganda. You got the left and the right paradigm. This is a perfect example of it. We got protests today in London from what BBC describes as the far right, and I would describe as patriots. And yesterday they had tens of thousands, according to the BBC, of people who are anti-Trump. What they mean is communists. But you need to step back. You saw Trump grovelling after what he said middle of last week to the Sun, and then what he said in the press conference after he'd met Theresa May. And what do you get? An absolute grovelling. Well, that should tell you everything you need to know. These people are just actors. They're told what to say, when to say it. Trump's a bit of a loose cannon. Of course, what that did was provide the communists, the left, with an excuse to get more people out on the street, therefore creating more anti-patriot feeling, because effectively the one world government is a communist government. You know, it's a mixture of communism and fascism, but it's basically authoritarian, and it's a prison. But the more people they can get on board with this left-right paradigm, you know, you've got the rise of the right-wing vloggers and that on YouTube, and you know, we've always had the left wing, which is basically the BBC and the New World Order promotionalists, for want of a better term. And you've got people who are mostly genuine, and they're saying what everybody's thinking, but because this agenda's being pushed by a satanic priest class, and everybody below them is controlled through either violence or coercion or that kind of or just paid off. You know, if somebody says to you, right, I want you to say this, and you say, well, that's not right, is it? Well, we'll make you very rich. Oh, okay then. And that's how it works, because most people will just do what they're told. When you step back from this, you can see that the likes of Theresa May and the likes of Donald Trump and all these others, they're just puppets. They're just actors. They're doing what they're told. You know, it's funny, isn't it? With this non-poisoning in Salisbury, the murder of that woman this week, and the attempted murder of her partner by the state, was just another thing to whip up this anti-Russia, anti-Trump. You know, it's all about creating division, and we need to step away from that. If you really want to make a difference, then we all collectively have to step away from that and stand back, and by our actions make a positive change. Don't get involved in all this left-right crap. Don't get involved in voting. Don't get involved in all this statist shit. Don't get involved in religions, state religions, or any other kind of religion, because they're all control grids. Remember that. Everything's done to control you. You are a flesh and blood individual. The only way you can move from this prison to a freer state is by your actions. Right, there's a learning process you need to go through, and it's called the trivium. And you need to know or collect the data. So whatever it is you feel strongly about, you need to first collect all the information from all different sources. Then you need to process that data and learn it, and filter out all the crap, because there's so much knowledge out there. I mean, people talk wistfully about the great library at Alexandria and about the knowledge of the ancient world that was contained in it. Well, we've got more knowledge at our fingertips now than they could have ever dreamed of. You know, we've got centuries more, well, millennium more learning, and we've also got, you know, all that knowledge as well, the ancient knowledge. So it's all there somewhere, but it needs filtering, because there's so much crap talk that you need to filter all that out. So once you've got the knowledge, you've got the information, you've filtered out all the crap, then you've got to action it. Nothing happens without action. All this new age bullshit where they say, oh, you can just meditate and it'll all be fine. Yeah, bollocks will it be. Can we get up here? Yeah. You know, the New Age religion is part of the satanic control grid. It's just another religion, as is government, as is all the religions, as is money. You've got to try and step away from all of this as much as you possibly can, but you need to do good works. You need to be good in your soul, and you need to understand what it is that's polluting this world. And because there's a growing body of evidence that this world, we've gone through this cycle loads of times, and each time mankind's either destroyed itself or been destroyed, and it's until mankind as a whole moves on and learns right from wrong, then it's going to keep happening. However, that doesn't mean to say that individuals can't move on. I've learned so much in the last few years, and the most important thing I've learned, and it has changed me, is you need to get out of your comfort zone sometimes. You need to talk to people. You know, I was a right antisocial twat, but now I talk to people much more. Don't, you know, if you want to do something good, give some food to your local food bank. Don't give it to a big charity. All these big charities are just there to suck money out of the general public, and pretend that it's for some good cause, when the CEOs and that are just creaming off the top, and very little filters down to the poor. So it's another part of that control grid. It makes you feel good for giving, but then it never actually goes, you know, do you honestly think that that if you the amount of money that things like cancer research church get. And I mean, what is it? I can remember when I was at school, the Guide Dogs for the Blind, well, they're called something different now because they've rebranded. They were forced by the Charity Commission to spend the money they had in their bank account. And the RNLI have just had the same thing. They've built new lifeboat stations all over the country because they had millions and millions and millions in the pot, and they were all feeding out of the trough, and yet the poor volunteers on their lifeboats don't get a penny. So don't give to big charities. All you need to do, if you see somebody in need, try and help them. Do things for nothing. Do things. Give people money if you see them homeless and stuff, or give money. Give food to food banks. Don't give money. All this kind of stuff. But learn to be more at peace inside yourself. When you understand what's going on, you can see right through it. Get rid of your TV. Get rid of your radio. There's no point in listening to that because it just creates division. I switched on Radio Cornwall just now. I live in Cornwall, and there was this report about Trump, and it was nothing to do with what he said, what he's been doing. All it was actually about the protests, and he was saying, basically it was a hit piece, and he was saying what a scumbag he is. Well, he's not a scumbag, he's a flesh and blood man, he's a puppet, but they've got no right to denigrate anybody. But because they're a propaganda arm of the state and they're trying to get this left-right paradigm going, and they're being bloody successful at it. Look at there's right-wing demonstrations today, and there was left-wing demonstrations tomorrow. What I think they should have done is put them all on the same day and let them fight out between them. Because it's just pathetic. People are that stupid that they can't see this. Once you learn this stuff, once you learn about natural law and how things should be, and what the cause and effects are of natural law. If you do something bad, call it karma, whatever you want to call it, but if you do something bad, you carry the karma for that. Or also, if you do something good, you carry the karma for it. And that actually changes the universe. It changes your future. So all these state actors, the problem, and they know this too, is that they don't get their hands dirty. They get useful idiots to do it for them, like the police and MI5 and MI6 and all those. They're the ones that are carrying the karma because they do the action. See, it follows through, doesn't matter what it is. If you do the action, you get the universal consequences of that. So once you understand that, you can step back from all this. I mean, that doesn't mean to say you can't put pressure on your local MP, you can't expose what's going on. I mean, that's a good thing, exposing what's going on. Tell people, talk to people. Tell them it's all lies. Tell them you don't watch your TV because you don't want to be propagandized. I pointed out, this is a perfect example, right? I pointed out to my missus the other day, I said, where have all the men gone? She said, what do you mean? I said, just look around you. Where have all the men gone? And a couple of days later, she said to me, do you know, I hadn't noticed before. She said, but all the young men are lacking masculinity. And it's not a I'm not criticising young men here. The shit they put in the food, the GMOs, the shit they put in the water, are not so bad down here because they generally, anyway, I'll get off topic, but quite a lot of places they put fluoride and stuff in the water. What's happening is it's sucking the testosterone out of men and women. So women don't want to have sex anymore, and men don't want to have it either. And they're it's when you start looking, you start opening your eyes, seeing this stuff, you realise. And all the young lads, and I'm working with graduates at the moment, lots of them. Because the company I'm working for at the moment don't pay enough to get qualified engineers, so they employ hundreds of graduates. And the attitude that they come out of university, I mean, they know loads and they know nothing. You know, in fact, one of them the other day, she's only been out of university for 2 months. And she's been dropped right in the deep end. All of a sudden she's gone from pushing a pen around a computer screen, or a cursor around a computer screen. Now she's having to deal with cranes, heavy transport, logistics. And she said, "Oh my!" She said, "Why did I ever go to university? Why didn't I do an apprenticeship? At least I'd know what I'm doing." And it's just symptomatic that taking away life skills, they're taking away testosterone because you'll be compliant, and in a couple of generations all these young people, unless something changes, are going to be willing slaves. You're going to have the right brain of the willing slave and the left brain of the master, and they'll just accept it as their lot, and that's really quite scary. So that's all I'm trying to do with these videos, is just trying to wake people up a little bit. Walk around town and see how many people are walking around not looking at their phones. But just think about it. They're constantly being programmed. Once you're plugged in, you're plugged in. It's no difference to the Matrix when Neo wakes up and he's in that tub of goo, and he's got all these plugs in his neck and back and all that. Well, they're doing exactly the same thing, except you're plugged in with your eyes and your ears. Look around you. Look around the real world. Go outside and touch some trees. I'm no tree hugger, believe me. But sometimes I do that. I was working in Wiltshire not so long ago, and one evening I walked up to West Kennet Longbarrow, and I just sat on top of it looking at the sun and just thinking about things. And I was talking to the ancestors. I don't know if they were listening or not, but it just felt the right thing to do. And the more you do stuff like that, the more you just try and connect, the more you will connect, I'm sure of it. But don't take my word for it. You need to do it. You need to get off the sofa, turn the TV off. Don't get me wrong, I use technology, I use computers every single day. I watch YouTube, I read. I like reading books. I don't get much time to do it, but I like doing it. So there we are. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say really today. I'm going to try and keep these a bit shorter because people lose interest. Anyway, alright, take care and have a great weekend. And I'll try and find the button. It's on the air.